I never thought a single phone call could shatter everything I believed about family. When my father called that Tuesday evening, his voice carried an excitement I had not heard in months. "Ramona, sweetheart, I have wonderful news about your research," he said. I had just finished 3 grueling years developing breakthrough lithium battery technology in my home laboratory, investing every spare moment and dollar into perfecting something revolutionary. The pride in his tone made my heart race with anticipation. Little did I know this call would lead to the most devastating betrayal of my life. Before I dive into this story, I would love to know where you are watching from today. Please hit that like button if you have ever trusted someone completely, and do not forget to subscribe because this tale has twists that will leave you speechless. Let us begin this journey together. My name is Ramona Martinez, and at 28 years old I thought I had finally figured out life. As a chemical engineer in Austin, Texas, I had always been passionate about sustainable energy solutions. For the past 3 years, I had been working 12 to 14 hours a day on a project that consumed not just my time, but my entire $50,000 savings account. My research focused on developing advanced lithium battery technology that could charge 5 times faster than conventional batteries while holding 3 times more power. The implications were staggering. Electric vehicles could charge in minutes instead of hours. Smartphones could last for days without needing power. This technology could revolutionize everything. My father, Dr. Harold Martinez, was a 55-year-old university professor who had always been my biggest supporter. Growing up, it was just the two of us after my mother passed away when I was 12. He sacrificed so much to ensure I had every opportunity to succeed. He paid for my MIT education, bought me $30,000 worth of laboratory equipment when I graduated, and always encouraged my ambitious projects. 5 years ago, Harold married Patricia, a 48-year-old marketing executive who brought her own daughter into our family dynamic. Jasmine was Patricia's daughter from her previous marriage. At 26, she worked as a marketing specialist for a mid-sized tech company in Dallas. While I spent my days buried in chemical formulas and prototype testing, Jasmine focused on social media campaigns and brand development strategies. The contrast between us was obvious from the beginning, but I tried to embrace having a sister figure in my life. Patricia, however, seemed determined to create competition between Jasmine and me. During family dinners, she would constantly compare our achievements. "Jasmine just got promoted to senior marketing specialist," she would announce. "She really understands how to make products successful in the marketplace." Then she would turn to me with what seemed like genuine curiosity. "Ramona, how do you plan to make money from all that science stuff you do?" Over the years, I noticed Harold gradually shifting his attention toward Jasmine. He would ask detailed questions about her marketing projects, while giving polite but brief responses to my research updates. When I showed him my latest battery prototypes, he would nod and say, "That is nice, sweetheart," before turning to ask Jasmine about her latest campaign metrics. The change was subtle but unmistakable. Despite these family dynamics, I remained focused on my work. My laboratory occupied the entire garage and half of the basement in my house. Every surface was covered with testing equipment, chemical compounds, and prototype batteries in various stages of development. I had successfully created a lithium battery that could power a smartphone for 72 hours of continuous use or charge an electric vehicle to full capacity in under 20 minutes. The breakthrough came on a rainy Thursday afternoon in March. After months of testing different electrode compositions, I finally achieved stable performance across all metrics. The energy density was triple that of commercial batteries, the charging speed was revolutionary, and most importantly, the safety tests showed no signs of overheating or degradation. I had done it. I had created something that could change the world. That evening, Harold called with his invitation to dinner. "I want to discuss your research future," he said. "Patricia and I have some ideas that might help you take this to the next level." The warmth in his voice filled me with hope. Maybe he was finally ready to give my work the attention and support it deserved. I arrived at their house the following Sunday evening carrying a briefcase with some of my latest test results to share. Patricia had prepared my favorite meal, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables, and the dining room table was set with their best china. Jasmine was there too, which surprised me since she usually spent Sunday evenings with her boyfriend. What struck me as odd was Jasmine's appearance. Instead of her typical casual weekend attire, she wore a sharp navy blue business suit that I had never seen before. Her hair was pulled back in a professional chignon, and she carried a leather portfolio that looked expensive. She seemed unusually focused, taking notes on a legal pad throughout dinner. During the meal, Patricia steered the conversation toward business strategy. "You know, Ramona, having groundbreaking technology is only half the battle," she said while cutting her salmon. "The real challenge is bringing it to market successfully. That requires understanding consumer psychology, competitive positioning, and brand development." Harold nodded enthusiastically. "Your mother is absolutely right. Look at all the brilliant inventions that never made it because the inventors did not know how to commercialize them properly." He gestured toward Jasmine. "Jasmine has been studying your research documentation, and she has some fascinating insights about market potential." I looked across the table at my stepsister, who smiled brightly. "I have been researching the battery industry extensively," she said, consulting her notes. "The global market is worth over $100 billion annually, and there is definitely room for disruption. Your technology could capture significant market share with the right positioning strategy." While I appreciated their interest, something felt off about the entire conversation. Jasmine had never shown any curiosity about my scientific work before. Patricia kept emphasizing how challenging it would be for me to succeed alone in such a complex marketplace. Harold repeatedly suggested that I needed to collaborate with people who understand business. By the end of dinner, Harold made his suggestion explicit. "Ramona, I think you should consider partnering with Jasmine on this project. She has the business expertise you need, and you have the technical knowledge she lacks. Together, you could build something truly successful." The idea made me uncomfortable, but I did not want to seem ungrateful or selfish. These were my family members, people who claimed to want the best for me. Maybe they were right. Maybe I did need help with the business side of things, but deep down, something warned me to be cautious. The following week, Harold called with a request that caught me completely off guard. "Ramona, I need you to compile all of your research documentation and bring it to the house this weekend," he said. His tone was more serious than usual, almost businesslike. "We want to start the patent application process as a family project. It will be better to register everything under a family partnership rather than having you try to navigate the legal system alone." I hesitated. "Dad, I appreciate the help, but this research represents 3 years of my life. I have invested everything into this project." "Exactly why we need to protect it properly," he interrupted. "Ramona, do you not trust me? Have I ever steered you wrong? I have been supporting your education and career for decades. I know what I am talking about here." His words carried a weight that was hard to argue against. Harold had indeed sacrificed tremendously for my success. When I needed expensive textbooks at MIT, he worked extra teaching assignments to pay for them. When I required specialized laboratory equipment after graduation, he took out a second mortgage on his house to help me purchase it. How could I question his motives now? Against my better judgment, I spent the entire weekend organizing my research files. 3 years of work filled 12 binders with over 200 pages of documentation. Chemical formulas, test results, prototype specifications, safety analyses, manufacturing cost projections, and detailed performance comparisons with existing battery technology. This was my life's work, my ticket to financial independence and professional recognition. On Sunday afternoon, I loaded everything into my car and drove to Harold's house. Patricia answered the door with an unusually bright smile. "Ramona, how wonderful that you are willing to share this with the family," she said, helping me carry the binders inside. "Jasmine is so excited to dive into the technical details." Harold reviewed the documentation with what seemed like genuine interest. He asked thoughtful questions about my testing methodologies and nodded approvingly at my safety protocols. "This is impressive work, sweetheart," Really impressive. You should be proud of what you have accomplished." For a moment I felt the warmth and validation I had been craving from him. Maybe this collaboration would bring us closer together as a family. Maybe Jasmine's marketing expertise really would help me reach a wider audience with my technology. "We will take excellent care of all this," Harold assured me as I prepared to leave. "Give us a few weeks to review everything thoroughly and consult with some legal experts. Then we can discuss the best path forward for everyone involved." The next 2 weeks passed in an unsettling silence. Harold, who usually called me several times per week, suddenly became difficult to reach. When I did manage to connect with him, our conversations were brief and vague. "Still working through the legal details," he would say. "These things take time to do properly." Patricia was equally evasive when I asked for updates. "Oh, you know how complicated patent applications can be," she would laugh. "Harold and the lawyers are handling everything. Just be patient, dear." Most concerning was Jasmine's behavior on social media. She began posting cryptic messages about exciting new projects and breakthrough opportunities in sustainable technology. One post featured a photo of her in a conference room with several men in expensive suits captioned, "Strategic planning sessions are the best part of any innovative venture." Another showed her holding what appeared to be technical documents with the text, "When passion meets opportunity, amazing things happen." I tried calling Jasmine directly to ask about these posts, but she never returned my messages. When I mentioned them to Harold, he dismissed my concerns. "She is just excited about being involved in something meaningful. You should be happy that your work is inspiring other people." My anxiety reached a breaking point when I discovered Harold and Jasmine had been meeting regularly with Dr. Benjamin Foster, a prominent intellectual property lawyer in downtown Austin. A mutual friend mentioned seeing them leaving his office building 3 times in 2 weeks. When I confronted Harold about this, he became defensive. "Of course we are meeting with lawyers," he snapped. "That is exactly what I told you we were doing. Why are you questioning every step of this process? Do you think I am trying to cheat you somehow?" His angry reaction was so unlike him that it frightened me more than reassured me. The father I knew had always been patient and explanatory, never dismissive or hostile when I asked questions. Something fundamental was changing in our relationship, and I had no idea how to address it. My professional colleagues began asking questions about my research project. Dr. Sarah Chen, my former mentor at MIT, called to congratulate me on what she had heard were significant developments in battery technology. "I am so proud that you are finally getting recognition for your work," she said. "When will you be announcing the commercial applications?" I had no idea how to respond. I had not announced anything publicly, and I certainly had not discussed commercial applications with anyone outside my family. How was word of my research spreading through professional networks when I had not even filed a patent application yet? The most disturbing incident occurred when I ran into a former classmate at a coffee shop near the university. "Hey, Ramona," he said enthusiastically. "I heard through the grapevine that your sister is developing some revolutionary battery technology. That is so cool that scientific talent runs in your family." My sister. He thought Jasmine was the inventor. My stomach dropped as I realized what might be happening, but I still could not bring myself to believe that my own father would betray me so completely. 3 weeks after I had handed over my research documentation, I received a phone call that would change everything. Dr. Benjamin Foster's secretary called to invite me to an important signing ceremony at their law office the following Tuesday morning. "Please arrive at 10 o'clock sharp," she said. "Dr. Martinez, Ms. Patricia, and Ms. Jasmine will be waiting for you in the main conference room." I drove to the downtown office building with a growing sense of dread. Something about the formal tone of the invitation felt ominous. Why had they not told me directly about this meeting? Why was I being summoned to a signing ceremony without any explanation of what I would be signing? The law office occupied the 32nd floor of a glass skyscraper with panoramic views of Austin's skyline. The receptionist directed me to conference room A, where I found Harold, Patricia, and Jasmine already seated around a massive mahogany table. Legal documents were spread across the surface, and Dr. Foster stood at the head of the table with a grave expression. "Ramona, please have a seat," Harold said, gesturing to the single empty chair facing the rest of the group. His tone was cold and businesslike, completely different from the warm father I had known my entire life. "We have some important matters to discuss regarding the patent application." Dr. Foster cleared his throat and began reading from a document. Application for United States Patent Number pending, titled Advanced Lithium Battery Technology and Manufacturing Process. Primary inventor and owner Jasmine Patricia Morrison. Secondary contributor Ramona Elena Martinez. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at the document in disbelief, reading my own research data and formulas listed under Jasmine's name as the primary inventor. My 3 years of work, my $50,000 investment, my revolutionary breakthrough had been stolen and attributed to someone who could not even pronounce half the chemical compounds involved. "Dad, what is this?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. "This is my research. This is my technology. How can Jasmine be listed as the primary inventor?" Harold leaned back in his chair and looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. It was cold, calculated, and completely devoid of the love I thought we shared. "Ramona, we have made a family decision about how to proceed with this technology. Jasmine will be the primary patent holder because she has the business expertise necessary to commercialize the invention successfully." Patricia nodded emphatically. "Jasmine has an MBA in marketing and 3 years of experience in technology commercialization. She understands market positioning, consumer psychology, and strategic partnerships. You are brilliant at the technical aspects, dear, but you have no idea how to turn research into profit." I felt my world collapsing around me. "But it is my invention," I protested, my voice growing stronger with desperation. "I spent 3 years developing this technology. I invested my entire savings. I did every single experiment, every test, every calculation." Jasmine spoke for the first time since I had arrived, her voice sickeningly sweet and condescending. "Ramona, nobody is trying to cheat you. You will still be listed as a contributor, and we will share the profits fairly. But the patent needs to be held by someone who can actually make this technology successful in the marketplace." Harold's next words shattered what remained of my faith in him. "Jasmine deserves this more than you do, Ramona. She has worked hard to build her business skills, and she understands what it takes to succeed in the real world. You have always been too focused on the academic side of things. This is a chance for our family to build something significant together, but it requires putting the right person in charge." I looked around the table at these 3 people who had systematically planned to steal my life's work. Harold the father, who had raised me to believe in honesty and hard work, was calmly explaining why my own invention belonged to someone else. Patricia, who had never shown any interest in my career, was lecturing me about business strategy. Jasmine, who could not balance a chemical equation to save her life, was being handed ownership of revolutionary technology she had no role in creating. The betrayal was so complete and so devastating that I began to cry. Not just tears of sadness, but deep, wrenching sobs that came from the core of my being. I had lost my family, my work, and my future in a single moment. Everything I had believed about loyalty, trust, and love had been revealed as an illusion. Dr. Foster pushed a pen across the table toward me. "Ms. Martinez, we need your signature on the contributor agreement to finalize the patent application. This document confirms your secondary role in the invention process and your acceptance of the ownership structure." Through my tears, I looked down at the legal paperwork that would make my humiliation official. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the pen. This was it. This was the moment I would either surrender completely or find some way to fight back. Suddenly, I stopped crying. A strange calm came over me as I realized something that none of them knew. I set down the pen and looked directly at Harold with a clarity I had not felt in weeks. "Dad, Are you talking about the formula for version 2.7? Harold looked confused. Version 2.7. What are you talking about? There is only one version of your battery technology. I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder I had brought just in case this meeting went badly. Actually, there are several versions. The documentation I gave you 3 weeks ago was for version 2.7, which was my working prototype from 6 months ago. It has some promising results, but it also has several critical flaws that make it commercially unviable. The color began draining from Harold's face as I continued speaking. Version 2.7 has a stability problem that causes the batteries to lose 40% of their capacity after only 50 charge cycles. There is also a temperature sensitivity issue that makes them dangerous in climates above 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Any company that tried to manufacture this version would face massive product recalls and potential lawsuits. I opened my folder and placed an official document on the table in front of them. This is United States Patent Number 11,234,567 titled Advanced Lithium Battery Technology with Enhanced Stability and Safety Protocols. Filed 6 months ago. Granted 4 weeks ago. Primary inventor and sole owner Ramona Elena Martinez. The room fell completely silent. Dr. Foster picked up the document and examined it carefully, his expression growing more serious by the second. This appears to be a legitimate patent registration, he said slowly. Ms. Martinez, are you saying that the technology described in the current application is not your most recent work? That is exactly what I am saying, I replied, feeling stronger with every word. The formula Jasmine is about to claim ownership of is outdated, flawed, and potentially dangerous. The real technology, the version that actually works and can be safely manufactured, is protected under my sole ownership. Harold's face had gone completely white. He stared at the patent document as if it were written in a foreign language. Ramona, you never mentioned filing a separate patent application. You never asked, I said simply. You assumed that because I trusted you with my working notes, I had given you everything. But I learned a long time ago to protect my most important work. My mentor at MIT, Dr. Sarah Chen, advised me years ago to file patent applications early, and often in case anyone tried to steal my research. Patricia was frantically whispering to Dr. Foster, who was shaking his head grimly. Jasmine looked like she might be sick. The technology she was about to claim as her own was not just worthless, it was actively harmful to her reputation. What does this mean for our patent application? Jasmine asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Foster set down the document and looked around the table gravely. It means that if you proceed with this application, you will be claiming ownership of outdated technology that could potentially infringe on Ms. Martinez's newer, superior patent. Any attempt to manufacture or sell products based on this older formula could result in patent violation lawsuits that you would almost certainly lose. The irony was perfect. In their greed and arrogance, they had stolen something that was not only worthless, but potentially damaging to possess. Meanwhile, I owned the real technology that could genuinely change the world. I stood up and collected my patent document. I think this meeting is over, I said, looking directly at Harold. You taught me to work hard, to be honest, and to protect what is rightfully mine. I guess I learned those lessons better than you expected. As I walked toward the door, Harold called out desperately, Ramona, wait. We can work this out. We can figure out a way to share the real technology. I turned back to face him one last time. Dad, you had 3 years to support my work and celebrate my achievements. Instead, you chose to steal from me and give my life's work to someone else. That is not the kind of mistake you work out. That is the kind of betrayal you live with forever. I left the law office feeling simultaneously devastated and victorious. I had protected my intellectual property, but I had lost my family in the process. The victory felt hollow, but it was still a victory. The immediate aftermath of that confrontation was both satisfying and heartbreaking. Harold spent the rest of that Tuesday calling and texting me frantically, alternating between anger and desperate apologies. You deliberately deceived us, read one message. You set us up for failure. Another message sent just 2 hours later said, "Please come home so we can discuss this as a family. I know we can find a solution that works for everyone." I ignored all of his attempts at communication. Dr. Foster later confirmed that they had withdrawn their patent application to avoid potential legal complications. Jasmine would not be inheriting revolutionary battery technology after all. Instead, she was left with a $25,000 legal bill for services rendered, and nothing to show for it except public embarrassment. Patricia apparently blamed Harold entirely for the disaster. According to mutual friends, their house became a war zone of accusations and recriminations. "You destroyed my daughter's future," she allegedly screamed during one particularly loud argument that the neighbors could hear. "You promised us this would make her rich and successful, and now she owes more money than she makes in 6 months." Jasmine's social media posts became increasingly desperate as she tried to maintain the illusion that she was still involved in some groundbreaking technology project. However, her followers began asking pointed questions about the specific nature of her work, and she had no answers to give them. Within 2 weeks, she had deleted all references to battery technology and sustainable energy from her online profiles. Meanwhile, I was dealing with my own emotional turmoil. The betrayal had cut deeper than any professional setback could have. These were not business competitors or strangers who had tried to steal from me. These were the people I had trusted most in the world, people I had considered my closest family. Harold had raised me from childhood, supported my education, and encouraged my dreams. To discover that he was willing to sacrifice my future for Jasmine's benefit was devastating beyond words. For the first month after the confrontation, I barely left my house except for essential errands. I could not concentrate on new research projects. I could not bring myself to return phone calls from colleagues who wanted to congratulate me on my patent success. The achievement that should have been the highlight of my career felt tainted by the circumstances surrounding it. Dr. Sarah Chen finally intervened by showing up at my house unannounced on a Thursday morning. "Ramona, you have been hiding from the world long enough," she said, settling into my kitchen with a cup of coffee. "I know what happened with your father, and I understand why you are hurt. But you cannot let their betrayal stop you from capitalizing on your success." She was right, of course. I had worked too hard and achieved too much to let family drama derail my career. Over the following weeks, Dr. Chen helped me navigate the transition from isolated researcher to technology entrepreneur. She introduced me to patent attorneys who specialized in licensing agreements, business consultants who understood the battery industry, and venture capitalists who were actively seeking sustainable energy innovations. The financial success exceeded my wildest expectations. Tesla contacted me within 6 weeks of my patent being published in industry journals. Their engineering team had been struggling with charging speed limitations in their new vehicle models, and my technology offered exactly the breakthrough they needed. After 3 months of negotiations, we signed a licensing agreement worth $8 million upfront, plus ongoing royalties. Samsung followed with an even more lucrative deal for smartphone applications. My batteries could enable phones that charged in under 5 minutes and lasted for 3 full days of heavy use. Their contract included $12 million in initial payments, plus a manufacturing partnership that would give me 5% ownership in any products using my technology. Within 6 months of that horrible day in Dr. Foster's office, I had earned more money than I could have imagined possible. More importantly, I had proven that I could succeed entirely on my own merits, without depending on family support or business partnerships I could not trust. Harold continued reaching out periodically, usually through awkward text messages that tried to strike a balance between apology and self-justification. "I hope you know I never intended to hurt you," one message read. "I thought I was helping the whole family succeed together. I realize now that I made serious mistakes in how I handled the situation." I appreciated the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, but words could not undo the fundamental betrayal of trust. Harold had revealed something about his character that changed how I viewed our entire relationship. He was willing to sacrifice my future for someone else's benefit when he thought it would serve his new family's interests better. That was not the kind of person I wanted guiding my major life decisions. 6 months after our confrontation, I made the decision to move forward with rebuilding my life completely. I established Martinez Energy Solutions as an independent research and development company focused on sustainable battery technology. Rather than licensing all my innovations to large corporations, I wanted to maintain control over how my work was applied and ensure that it genuinely served environmental and social good. My company's first initiative focused on providing affordable battery storage solutions for rural communities that lacked reliable electricity access. Using modified versions of my core technology, we developed systems that could store solar energy during the day and provide power throughout the night for entire villages. The profit margins were smaller than consumer electronics applications, but the social impact was enormously satisfying. I also began mentoring young researchers who were facing challenges similar to what I had experienced. Through partnerships with universities across Texas, I created a program that helped graduate students protect their intellectual property while pursuing innovative energy research. Too many brilliant minds had been exploited by advisors, family members, or business partners who saw easy opportunities to claim credit for other people's work. The healing process was gradual but genuine. I discovered that losing my birth family had created space for building a chosen family of colleagues, mentors, and friends who supported my goals without expecting to benefit personally from my success. Dr. Chen became like a mother figure, always available for advice, but never attempting to control my decisions. My research assistants and business partners treated me with respect and honesty that I had never experienced in family relationships. 1 year after the patent confrontation, I finally received a letter from Harold that felt different from his previous attempts at communication. It was handwritten on simple stationery 3 pages long and completely focused on accepting responsibility for his actions. "Dear Ramona," it began, "I have spent the past year trying to understand how I became the kind of person who would steal from his own daughter. I have no excuse for what I did, and I am not writing this letter to ask for forgiveness or reconciliation. I am writing because you deserve to know that I finally understand the magnitude of my betrayal." The letter continued with a detailed acknowledgement of every aspect of his wrongdoing. He recognized that he had chosen Jasmine's financial interests over my career achievements. He admitted that he had been influenced by Patricia's constant comparisons and had begun viewing my success as less important than maintaining harmony in his marriage. Most importantly, he took full responsibility for the planning and deception involved in trying to steal my patent. "You trusted me with your life's work because I had earned that trust over decades of supporting your education and dreams," he wrote. "I violated that trust in the most fundamental way possible. I cannot undo that betrayal, but I can at least acknowledge it honestly and accept the consequences of losing your respect and love." The letter concluded with information I had not expected. Harold and Patricia had divorced 6 months earlier. The stress of the patent disaster combined with the financial burden of Jasmine's legal bills had destroyed their marriage. Harold was living alone in a small apartment near the university while Patricia and Jasmine had moved to Dallas to start over in a new city. "I am not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me," Harold wrote. "I am telling you because I want you to understand that my actions had consequences for everyone involved. I destroyed my marriage, ruined my relationship with you, and hurt Jasmine by encouraging her to claim credit for work she could never have accomplished. My choices damaged every person I claimed to love." Reading that letter was emotionally overwhelming but also strangely healing. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt that Harold truly understood what he had done and why it was so harmful. His acknowledgement did not erase the pain, but it validated my experience and confirmed that my anger had been justified. I decided to respond with a brief letter of my own. I thanked him for his honesty and told him that I forgave him for what he had done. However, I also made it clear that forgiveness did not mean I was ready to rebuild our relationship. "Forgiveness means letting go of my anger so that I can move forward with my life," I wrote. "It does not mean pretending that nothing happened or trusting you with important decisions again." We agreed to meet for coffee one afternoon in December, almost 18 months after the patent confrontation. Harold looked older and more tired than I remembered, but also more humble and self-aware. We spoke for 2 hours about my business success, his personal struggles, and the lessons we had both learned from our family crisis. "I am proud of what you have accomplished," he said, as our conversation was ending. "I know I have no right to claim any credit for your success, but I am genuinely happy that you found a way to thrive despite what I did to you." I appreciated his words, but I also recognized the limitations of our relationship going forward. Harold would always be my biological father, and I could forgive him for his mistakes, but I would never again treat him as a trusted advisor or close confidant. Some betrayals create permanent changes in how people relate to each other, and ours was definitely one of those situations. As I drove home from that coffee meeting, I reflected on everything that had changed in my life over the past year and a half. I had lost a father but gained independence. I had experienced devastating betrayal, but learned to protect myself more effectively. I had seen family loyalty revealed as conditional and self-serving, but I had also discovered friendships based on mutual respect and shared values. Most importantly, I had learned that success achieved through your own efforts feels fundamentally different from success that depends on other people's support. When I signed those licensing agreements with Tesla and Samsung, I knew that nobody could take credit for my achievements except me. When I established my company and hired my first employees, I understood that every decision was mine to make without interference from people who claimed to know what was best for me. The experience taught me that sometimes the people who teach you to dream are the same people who will try to steal those dreams when they become valuable enough. But it also taught me that protecting what belongs to you is not selfish or paranoid. It is essential for maintaining your integrity and independence in a world where even family members might choose their own interests over your well-being. My father's betrayal was the most painful experience of my adult life, but it was also the catalyst for building a career and a life that belonged entirely to me. In losing his love and support, I discovered my own strength and resilience. In fighting to protect my work, I learned that I could succeed without depending on anyone else's approval or assistance. Sometimes the greatest gifts come disguised as devastating losses, and sometimes the most important lessons emerge from the most painful experiences. Harold thought he was giving Jasmine an opportunity and teaching me a lesson about family loyalty. Instead, he gave me the motivation to become completely self-reliant and the wisdom to never again confuse love with control. Today, when young researchers ask me for advice about protecting their work and managing family expectations, I tell them this story. I explain that genius and hard work are not enough if you do not also learn to recognize manipulation and defend your boundaries. The people who love you genuinely will celebrate your success without expecting to profit from it. Everyone else is just waiting for an opportunity to take credit for your achievements. Have you ever had someone you trusted completely betray you in a way that changed your entire perspective on relationships? Have you learned the hard way that family loyalty sometimes has conditions and limitations that nobody talks about openly? I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Please give this video a like if my story resonated with you, and do not forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal and building success on your own terms. Share this video with anyone who might benefit from understanding that forgiveness and independence are not contradictory choices. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you navigate your own challenges with wisdom and courage. Remember that your work, your dreams, and your achievements belong to you first and foremost, and protecting them is not just your right, but your responsibility.